Hi, everybody. I'm glad we're able to do a stream today. We, in fact, as Mary pointed out, where's the comment here? She tweeted me. We have an all vampire stream. Good catch, Mary. Good catch. I thought that was fantastic. Good afternoon and welcome to the all vampire stream. All right, so we're gonna have a really good time. Thank you, Michael. Michael Mastenis. Thank you, Dancing Dog 60. Yeah, it's perfect for the Halloween season, and there are some really good stories to go over. But also, it's the first stream of the week, which means it's time for me to gift my memberships as well. I always do that because you guys are so generous. So at the beginning of each week, I always gift 5 memberships myself. All right, here we go. Welcome back, Nina. How you doing? All right, fantastic. There they are. Okay, so we have, as usual, 3 stories for the day. Please keep your questions and comments to the story at hand. There will be a, I will answer your questions about the specific story at the end of each section. But then, of course, at the end, there's always, the Q&A. You can ask anything that you'd like. Thank you again, Dancing Dog 60. Thank you, Not Modern Art History. That's right, Tamed the 3 Bears. We could also do the Count Dracula, the Count from Sesame Street. 1, 2, 3 stories for the day. Somewhere some vampire's very insulted. What a stereotype, man. Don't do that to me. All right. Sibs, hey, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. I hope you're having a great day. Oh, Green Lantern's Light, that's so generous of you. Thank you so much. Okay, hey, Mr. Andrews. All right, everybody, so let's get started. All right, thank you, Danny. All right, so story number 1, that's right, Vampire Boop. All right, it's fun to do. All right, a boop. All right, so story 1. Oh, poor Mahershala Ali. All right, so let's get through this. This is, everybody right now, it's a lot. You know what's making it a big thing on the internet? Well, I'll just say it now. Obviously, everybody brought to mind this Deadpool and Wolverine joke about there will only ever be one Blade. I told you that Ryan Reynolds was making a joke they'd probably never make the Blade movie, and many of you were like, no, he's joking that he doesn't know that there's going to be another Blade, and I was like, I don't think so. That's what I thought. I thought that, Wesley Snipes, I love Wesley Snipes. Love to see a Wesley Snipes comeback. But, he has a little bit of a checkered history in Hollywood, let's say. So I think it's totally in character for Wesley Snipes to say, you're never going to make another Blade, certainly not without him. He's an aggressive dude. All right, so the first thing, though, what's the headline? The headline is that the November 7th, by the way, I filmed a Disney 2025 video yesterday, and now I have to totally redo it because of this date, of this additional movie. That's what happens if you don't, I'm glad actually, because even if I just posted it yesterday, it would have immediately been missing a movie. All right, so anyway, November 7th, 2025 was originally supposed to be Blade, and every time we saw that on the calendar, we were all like, there's no way that Blade's going to make that date. It doesn't even have a full production put together. It hasn't even started filming, etc. So yes, it was announced today that the new Predator movie from the same team who did Prey, but it's a different story, are going to take that date instead, early November. And Disney has 2 movies that month. The other one is Zootopia 2 for Thanksgiving. So yes. So that's what happened. Now, the headline has been, so we just talked about the Ryan Reynolds joke, and I do feel that, there is some question as to whether or not they should bring Wesley Snipes back now because Deadpool and Wolverine was so popular, and people loved when Wesley Snipes walked out. It was an incredible moment. I loved it. You loved it. Even if you're not a huge fan of Blade, I like the Blade movies, but people were like, oh my God, we got to have this. This is incredible. So I think that might maybe be a factor as well. But then how do they do that? I don't know if Mahershala Ali wants to share his movie with Wesley Snipes, right? And who would be Blade? So that's something that's going to take a little bit of time to sort out. So what is going on with Blade? I asked my source, and I was like, is Blade dead? My source said no. My source, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if Kevin Feige's doing like the soft no, being like, no, it's in development forever. I mean, I think a Blade movie will, I think I'm getting silent to my phone. I think a Blade movie will, of course, be made someday. But, for instance, Marvel also put down three dates for 2028. And you're like, oh man, how long is this going to take? Like, it used to be when Marvel would pick dates, we'd be like, oh, what movie do you think it might be? And now we're like, who knows, man? Like, they're all over the place. They're going, they're zigging and zagging and zigging again. And you're like, what's happening? It's almost like the weave, from political talking, about like, you're like, oh, I swear I have a plan. And you're like, I don't know, man. You just seem to be bopping and weaving with no discernible direction. So, apparently, according to Marvel, they're still going to make the Blade movie, but don't ask them when. Like they're running out of dates. They have there's 2026, I guess. There's some 2027 dates, but I mean, this is getting ridiculous. All right, so then let's talk about poor Mahershala Ali. You want it to be really sad? Look at this photo. I still remember when he was announced as Blade. He was so excited. It was something he really wanted. He came out and, everybody, they gave him a hat that said Blade on it. It was the big announcement at the end of the panel. This was 2019. Yeah, that's right, Mika. 2019 Comic-Con. Everyone was so excited, but nobody was more excited than Mahershala Ali. And he told a little story about how he used his Oscar capital to get the role. Now, he said that after winning his second Oscar, he called up Kevin Feige and he said, I would like to be Blade. And Kevin Feige said, sure! Little did they know how it would turn out. But that's just incredible. And it's been so long that Mahershala Ali's Oscar capital has all disappeared. It's gone. I mean, he's going to be in the new Jurassic World movie. So I hope it's a good role. But I mean, it just was wasted. I feel really bad for him. I think it's a good lesson about don't put all your Oscar capital in one project. He should have diversified his portfolio and maybe try to get 2 projects out of an Oscar win. I just think he was really hoping on this Blade thing to work. I think it was emotional because it was a dream of his. He personally wanted to play the character. It wasn't just a business decision. And so I think he was just holding out, and he kept it's a little unfair for Marvel to do that to him because it kept him in a holding pattern where he couldn't really sign on for anything else because he's like, oh, thank you, Aaron. So it's like, I got to save space for Blade, and Blade just never came. And they were attaching really good directors to it. The rumor is that Mahershala Ali and Kevin Feige just couldn't agree on a script. And, which is unfortunate because, obviously Ryan Reynolds was afforded a lot of creative control, but that wasn't given to Mahershala Ali. Who knows how bad the scripts might have been? I mean, they might have been bad. We've seen some of the other stuff that's come out of Marvel in the last couple of years or so. Maybe Mahershala Ali was right to say, I don't want to do it. At the end of the day, you have to decide what's more important, having the movie or, making sure it's really good. I mean, Tom Holland's playing that game right now with Spider-Man 4. He has the ability now to say no, and he keeps saying no. It better be good, Tom. He's delaying Spider-Man 4 to such a degree. If Spider-Man 4 isn't great, you're going to be like, dude, what are you doing to me? I mean, Tom Holland has horrible choice in movies, as we know. Heinrich Everson says they should just pivot to Midnight Suns and have Blade and Ghost Rider debut in that movie. Even Black Panther didn't debut in his solo movie first. But I mean, I think they're getting a little bit too crazy with so many teams. They're going to have Thunderbolts and Avengers, and then they're going to have a Midnight Suns team. I think it's maybe as a Disney Plus show, but it's just I just feel again, Marvel used to have a very specific direction, which was why it succeeded. They had the spine of the MCU was the Avengers films, and then the Avengers members would go off and get 3 movies. They'd get their own trilogy. It was very effective. But this is now, now you don't know where to look, and I think that's a problem for them. But yeah, so I hope he has a really good role in the upcoming Jurassic World movie. I hope it's good. I just feel very bad for Mahershala Ali. As you guys pointed out, this was announced in 2019. It's coming up on 2025. That's 5 years of Mahershala Ali's career where he has really not been able to do anything. And that's really horrible. I mean, at least maybe other people can learn from this. Other talent can be like, woo, don't pull a Mahershala Ali. Again, I think maybe it just meant too much to him, which makes it even sadder. It makes it even sadder. Okay. And also, I think Mahershala Ali has spent so much time on this that if he drops out and then they get another Blade actor to play Blade, and then it does really well, he's going to be like, what the F? I should have stuck with it. But I don't know. I mean, is he aging out of the role? That's another, I think, sad but important question. All right, so as for Wesley Snipes, do we want Wesley Snipes to come back? I have mixed feelings about it. Daniel says, according to the script rumors. Yeah, the script rumors weren't great. I mean, they were just rumors. We can't totally confirm any of them, but a lot of it had a big focus on him having a daughter. And I think we were all like, nobody wants that. All right, let's do a poll, okay? Do you still want a Blade movie? And also, there's so much vampire stuff coming out. I think there's too much vampires. Okay, do you still want an MCU Blade movie? Yes, with Wesley Snipes. Yes, with Mahershala Ali. Yes, with Ali and Snipes. And then no. Missed the window. Okay. Anyone can vote in a poll, by the way, who's watching. You don't have to be a member to vote. I have mixed feelings on it. I feel Deadpool and Wolverine was really successful. Let's try not to just run that into the ground with repeats. I don't think you could do a Deadpool and Blade movie. I don't think that Blade is big enough to be half of the film. You need more somebody like Thor, like Chris Hemsworth's Thor or something like that. Although he's apparently the front runner for Prince Charming, which I think is actually pretty good casting. So he's going to be busy. I just think, maybe he could have a cameo in the Blade movie, but I think it was great the way it was. Just like, I think Channing Tatum was so fun as Gambit. I don't need to see that again. I mean, just let it live where it lived. If they want to show up in a future Deadpool movie, that's fine. But I don't need any, I think, I don't think it's necessary. Now, here's my thoughts while you guys continue to vote. What my thoughts are about the future of Blade. As I've told you before when we were discussing this, I'm really intrigued by the Blade upcoming video game from Bethesda, which takes place in France, in Paris specifically. Now, we all, the rumors have said that the Blade movie the MCU was going to do was going to take place in England. I've had enough of vampires in England. Although I have to tell you, Interview with the Vampire, which we're going to be talking about at the end of the stream, also takes place, by the way, in Paris. It's lovely. It's really nice. But as I've told you before, it reminds me also of the very successful series aired on Netflix here in the United States, Lupin, with Omar Sy. Now, Omar Sy, you might recall, he was a breakout star a while back in the Untouchables, where he was taking care of an individual in a wheelchair. And that was a big hit, and he won the César Award. And one of the reasons it was considered such a big deal is that France had been diverse for a very long time, but had not publicly embraced that diversity. So I remember visiting France, and the city was very divided in terms of its of ethnicity. It was pretty surprising. And so I think that with the Untouchables, it was considered that, and the success of Omar Sy as a star in France, that Paris and France at large was finally moving past that and accepting the country, the citizens that they had already. And it was a very important moment. Now, Omar Sy tried to move over to Hollywood. It didn't work out very well. He was a bishop in X-Men Days of Future Past. I think he had a little bit of trouble with, his accent. He couldn't totally do that, unfortunately. And then also he was in, speaking of the Jurassic movies, he had a small part in Jurassic World, but it was very small. It was unfortunate. He didn't really get a good shot in Hollywood, But I'm glad that he has this show on Netflix, which has gone through 3 seasons. He's a wonderful actor, extremely talented, and what he was able to do for France and representation was incredible. So I kind of like the idea of doing Blade in France. I think, we're just starting, or any European city besides London, to be honest with you. I think we've done enough with vampires in London. I think it's a better idea. Omar Sy could be Blade, actually, interestingly enough. But yeah, I like the idea. I would wait now to see how the Bethesda game is received, and I would see how fans like it, and then maybe I would try and build something off of that, which would be what I would do next. Also you can see that this Blade is a lot younger than Mahershala Ali, and so that's, I think, something they're gonna have to consider as well. Ian Michael says they need to stop the Disney Plus shows and Disney Plus made for streaming movies. People aren't in lockdown anymore and aren't tuning in week to week. They're tuning in week to week for some shows. House of the Dragon, The Last of Us. People will, Shogun to some degree. People will tune in, and it just has to be for the right show. The Boys, Fallout. Fallout was a binge, but I bet you Fallout switches to weekly. All right, so does anybody have any questions or comments about this story before we move to the next story of the day? White Lotus, that's right. But White Lotus has actually not huge viewership, but it's big for what it is. That's why when they're like, Penguin has more viewers than White Lotus, and they read another headline the other day. They're like, Penguin had 1.8 million viewers. And you're like, that's like nothing. Let's see here. I don't know if Mia Goth is still attached. Mia Goth, of course, has her own problem. Let me close the poll. Thank you. All right, so the poll says... All right, do you still want an MCU Blade movie? 37% of you feel missed the window. 34% want it just with Mahershala Ali. 16% want it with both of them. And only 11% want just Wesley Snipes. Yeah, I don't feel like this is enough excitement to really, I really would take a break and let's see how the game is received. That would be my strategy if I were Kevin Feige. I don't know how he's going to make it up to Mahershala Ali, and this is something that I think always kind of haunt Kevin Feige as something he did that was just really not good. I wish Disney could make it up to him another way. Couldn't Disney proper, I wish Bob Iger would step in and say, do we have another project for him somewhere else? Star Wars, live action, remake or something? Can we do something for him? Green Lantern's Light, Aldous Hodge would have been a great Blade. I told you when he was cast as Hawkman that it was a waste of Aldous Hodge, and a lot of you were like, no, it's not. No, it's not, Grace. Don't be a hater. I was 1,000% correct. That was a waste. But he's the new Alex Cross, which is great. Billy Malloy says, I would love to see Omar Sy do it. Yeah, he's great. I love Omar Sy. He would be an interesting choice. Denzel says, didn't they build a train set piece for this movie? That's the rumor. Yeah. They've done a lot on this. They came very close to filming several times, but it just never materialized. Let's see here. Zeke says, can't Disney just make an original vampire film? No, they cannot. That's not the Disney formula, which is extremely, extremely successful, as we're going to now talk about next week instead of this week because I have to redo that video. Thank you, Elpidio. Jordan says, I've heard of people wanting a team-up movie with Midnight Suns. Yeah, we were discussing that. I don't know if there's space for all these teams. I think it's taking the focus off of the Avengers. That should be the team. Steven says, how much do you think they already spent on Blade? More than they'll ever divulge, I bet. Hamish Steele says, have these multiverse cameos like Wesley Snipes been worth the cost of struggling to establish their own takes on the characters? That's a good question. I would like them to move on from this. I'm not happy that Robert Downey Jr. is Doom. I wish he had come back as Tony Stark as an AI construct, as the comics had him do, and then come back as Tony Stark. I really wish that Deadpool and Wolverine had been the end of the multiverse, but it seems it is not, which is, in my opinion, frustrating. Blair Wraith says if Thunderbolts does well, I think Midnight Suns should be on the table. But no, shouldn't they just join the Thunderbolts then? I mean, you could only have two. Maybe you could have an Avengers team and like a Dark Avengers team. Maybe I would allow two Avengers teams to coexist. But that's it. I'm like, what are you going to have? Avengers, Dark Avengers, Young Avengers? This is getting ridiculous. As I've said many times before, regular audiences are not comic book fans. Comic book fans can read a stack every week, and they like that. But that's not what the casual moviegoer is willing to do. It's too much for them. Amandi's, I discuss colorism quite a bit. Some of you want to talk about it, some of you don't want to talk about it. Ace says, Midnight Suns is cool because it's like the spooky magic team. I'd love a magic movie with Loki and Wanda and Doctor Strange and more, but I wouldn't call it Midnight Suns. I mean, what the heck is Ghost Rider doing in a magic story? I'm sure he has some magic capabilities, but it's too confusing, I think, to casuals. That's right, Ryan Sanchez. Put on the business hats. Billy Malloy says, I thought Fantastic Four was going to be the end of the multiverse. I don't know, man. Then how are you going to get the the X-Men in here? Whelm says Avengers Endgame was too good. It killed Marvel. I think what killed I don't think MCU is dead, but I think what hurt MCU is the exact same thing that hurt the comics. Remember I told you this, the Marvel Now initiative? They were like, oh, we're going to do Marvel Now in the MCU. And I was like, oh, excuse me, Kevin. I don't know if you're aware, but Marvel Now was very poorly received in the comics and set them back along a bit. And it took a long time for them to recover. And in some ways, they're still trying to recover. And nobody raised their hand and told them that, which I think is weird. I mean, I've been saying that since day one. I was like, bold move to copy an initiative that was a horrible failure. Secret Wars better just be all fighting. Like, did you see that trailer for the new Electric State movie from the Russo brothers? I can't believe they got paid that much money to come back. I'd be like, I've seen the drivel you've been making since you left. You're lucky that I'm inviting you back. I mean, it was just so awful. I was like, oh my God, what is this? All right. I think you're right. Let's boop it on to the next story there, Rippy. All right. Story number 2. Boop. All right. Ooh, Christopher Nolan, we're talking about you again, buddy. All right, so vampires? All right, so the other day, so I told you last week that I'd heard a rumor about what this movie was going to involve. And I told you that I knew it was horror, and then I heard some other element that I felt was too stupid to report. But another outlet felt differently. And reported this rumor that it's going to be a vampire movie. Who started this rumor? Was it Warner Brothers? Where they were like, we couldn't get the movie, so we're going to tell everybody it's about vampires because it's so dumb. I heard, as I tweeted yesterday, I had another source tell me, and I do believe, people in the industry have heard it's about vampires. They haven't read the script, but the word that's going around town is that it's about vampires. And as I said last week, I thought that was too stupid because there's just been so much vampire content. How on earth is Christopher Nolan going to come in here and it's not going to be ridiculous? But I do believe it's a horror piece. Now, I have another source that is also very good, and that source I said, is it vampires? And they told me it's not vampires. So, but maybe, you never know. You never know until you know. I mean, things are changing. The script's very tightly guarded over at Universal. So, I would be really surprised, though, if it were vampires. Largely because it's such an FU to Ryan Coogler, as Blair just pointed out. Ryan Coogler's making a vampire movie. He's making a big deal about it. We've got this vampire show we're about to talk about. We have Nosferatu coming out at Christmas. It's just so much vampire stuff. It's too much. It would be ridiculous to do another vampire movie. It's just, the space is too crowded. Now, obviously, Christopher Nolan can do anything that he wants. He has so much capital at this point with audiences and everybody that people would be like, well, then that just, all the other vampire stuff sucks compared to Christopher Nolan's. But I mean, why do that? I mean, let's see. So that's my thoughts on it. So I would take the vampire rumor with a grain of salt. I definitely think that that's what's going. But it's definitely what's being whispered around Hollywood. That part is true, but I believe that the whispers are incorrect. Which happens even in Hollywood. You would be shocked at how much. I'm surprised at how much is talked about in Hollywood doesn't come out to the public. There's so much stuff that's spoiled in Hollywood and people talking about it around each other. Everybody knows everything. And I'm surprised that how little of it trickles down to the general public. All right. Like I'll be talking to some of my inside sources and I'll be like, oh, guess what I heard? And they'll be like, we knew that for months. And I'm like, oh my God, how do you guys keep this a secret? All right. Now, I think it's hilarious that post Nolan's Oscar, he's just like, haha, I've got my Oscar, back to the genre content. And he's quite good at it. So I think it's funny that after getting, he's been wanting to win an Oscar for a while now. It's really influenced the projects that he does. Hey, AG68, welcome back. But now that he's got it, he can go back to doing these kinds of, more genre-y content. And I'm excited. I'm very excited about it. I like Christopher Nolan his genre work. So I'm like, hooray. But I do think it's funny that just like after Robert Downey Jr. won an Oscar, he was like, hey, Kevin Feige, I'm back. It's like, I don't know. It's funny to see these people being like, just be so transparent about it. It was just a ploy to get an Oscar. But, they haven't really changed their careers and what they're doing. They're like, okay, I got it. Woohoo, back to the money and the fun stuff. All right, so Tom Holland and Matt Damon. This to me is very interesting. Now, we talked about this the other day when Matt Damon was cast, and now just yesterday, Tom Holland was cast in the movie. Thank goodness, unless this is Christopher Nolan's, at least maybe it's Christopher Nolan's one bad movie. Because as we were just discussing earlier in the stream, Tom Holland has the worst taste in movies outside of the MCU, which is why I think it's funny that he now has control over Spider-Man 4. They're like, again, it's like Joaquin Phoenix basing Joker 2 off of Joaquin Phoenix's dream. I mean, I hope that Tom Holland has painted himself as the guardian of Spider-Man. He's like, I shall protect Spider-Man from the crap. Don't you worry, everybody. And we're like, okay. But as I said, it better be really freaking amazing. Because if it's bad and you're like, this is what you greenlit, Tom? What did you say no to? So I think it's hilarious. It's not like Tom Holland's going out there making great movies otherwise. He's just making horrible, horrible stuff. Like noticeably bad stuff. Not even just like moderate. Like really bad. But I think what's interesting about him being cast in this movie is that I think he looks a little bit like Matt Damon. So I wonder if they're going to be playing father and son, or maybe younger and older versions of the same character. Although it can't be, if it's vampires, they're immortal. So the actor could play the same. But I do think they kind of have a little bit of a similar look. So that's very interesting to me, them being cast that way. But I think Matt Damon, as I said the other week, when we discussed this, The Martian was a big hit. I think Matt Damon's a very strong choice for the lead. And I think Tom Holland's a good choice too. He'll certainly get the internet talking about the project. But I just hope this isn't I hope it's like Tom Holland's one good pick outside of that. Dre Films wants Nolan to be working on Universal's monster movies? I have to agree, by the way, Mr. Magic. Tom Holland, I want to be clear, Tom Holland is a very good actor. So that makes it all the more tragic that he picks crap whenever he is allowed to pick his own project. Some of it, by the way, made by the Russo brothers. Oh, Cherry. One of the worst movies I've ever seen. All right, but I do think Tom Holland is a great actor. All right, so here's the thing. Some of you pointed out that Tom Holland, does he have 3 big movies in 2026? Christopher Nolan's film, which is going to start filming in the beginning of the year. Spider-Man 4 and Avengers Doomsday, which of course, you can't have Robert Downey Jr. be revealed being Doom if you don't have Tom Holland's Peter Parker to react to it. So he's obviously going to be in that movie. I bet you Spider-Man 4 doesn't make 2026. I bet you it doesn't make that release date, especially because Tom Holland's going to be so busy filming these other movies. So I think, and Spider-Man 4 doesn't even have a script that's done. He was literally just talking about how he hasn't approved it. So I think Spider-Man, and also he's going to already be in Avengers that year. So yeah, I agree, probably Spider-Man in 2027. Ben 10, you think Spider-Man 4 will be July 2026? But that's when the Christopher Nolan movie comes out. There's no way. There's no way that they're going to have the two movies in the same month. That would be so bad. How would Tom Holland even promote them? And, it would be really bad for both films. And Christopher Nolan's movie is already set. Who releases a vampire movie in July, by the way? I don't even think summer is a good time for horror. So I'm surprised, but July's been a great release date for Nolan, so that's why he's done it. So anyway, Christopher Nolan's movie is set for mid-July 2026. So there's no way that Spider-Man can do that. So I think Spider-Man will be delayed. And I think that Tom Holland will have two movies. He'll have Avengers Doomsday, which better be good, and the Nolan movie. Okay. Oh, now Ben is saying Christmas 2026. Maybe. They could maybe make Christmas 2026. Let's see. I think it's too many movies for Tom Holland in 1 year. I think he'll be overexposed. I wouldn't do 3 movies in a year. I think that's a mistake. But we'll see. I mean, it would be a very long delay for another Spider-Man movie, which would suck. Okay. Does anybody have any questions or comments about this? No, Nicholas Cardillo. Avatar is in 2025. Avatar is next year. Pretty excited about it. Got to redo my video, but I'm excited. You'll find out. That's right, Ben 10. I need Spider-Man to be like street level Spider-Man. I don't want any other stuff, mixed in there. I'm sick and tired of that. Thanks, Kareem. I'm glad you like my glasses. Woo. Jordan, I think Tom Holland has signed a new Spider-Man contract because that's why he has so much power. In this recent interview, he talked about the fact that he signed for 6 movies and he's done 6 movies. So he has the ability now to say no because he doesn't have to sign for the new film. Chicken Beach, what a name! Welcome back, Chicken Beach. That is a great, that's a great YouTube name. That's fantastic. Gareth, always so generous, Gareth. Thank you so much. Ben 10, Ben 10's a big Tom Holland fan. I would agree. I think that Tom Holland is a great interview, and I'd like to take a moment to applaud him for starting his own non-alcoholic beer, which I saw apparently some people were trolling him for. Tom Holland realized that he had a drinking issue. He has gone sober. He's remained sober, and he has started a non-alcoholic beverage company so that, you can go to the pub with your friends, have a non-alcoholic beer, stay sober, but still be part of the group. I think it's wonderful that he did that. I think it's absolutely wonderful. It is a genius business move, Kay Walton, because he has such a great personal story behind the product. I think it's awesome. That's right, AG68. He is British, and they do a lot of pubbing. I don't drink either, so I appreciate it. It is, I gotta tell you, as someone who does not drink, it is extremely difficult to socialize. Everybody always says that it doesn't bother them, but it bothers them. You're always like, oh, please, it's fine. It doesn't bother me. What I do is, one year I was at Comic-Con, a bartender gave me a trick. They said, you have to order a seltzer with cranberry juice because it looks like an alcoholic beverage. And I was like, oh, that's a great trick. But then I told you one time I ordered that at a bar and they gave it to me in a soda-sized glass, like this big. I was like, who's going to believe that this is an alcoholic beverage when it's in a giant pint glass? I'm not going to have like a vodka cranberry in a huge glass like that. Hey, Julio. So they totally ruined my subtlety. So make sure you ask for it in a tiny glass. Be like, I'd like a seltzer cranberry in a tiny glass. Thank you. That's right, Browntown, Shirley Temple. A lot of sugar in a Shirley Temple, but a delight. You guys have heard my Shirley Temple story, right? I'll tell it again really quickly just because it's fun. All right, so I was at Rock Sugar in Los Angeles, and I saw them bring out a Shirley Temple to a small child that had so many cherries in it. It was like the maraschino cherries were ice cubes. It was just a glass of maraschino cherries with a little bit of ginger ale in it, and I was like, oh wow. I was like, that looks like it hits the spot. Could I have one too? And then they brought me, because I was an adult, they brought me just a regular Shirley Temple with like 2 maraschino cherries in it. And I was really disappointed. I was like, what? I like frivolity as well, thank you. And then I also told you another time when I was doing comedy back in the day, we used to hang out at bars afterwards, and so I wanted a Shirley Temple. And when the bartender was doing the orders down the group, somebody had asked, I think for a wine or something, and the bartender had said, well, what would you prefer? And they had a very serious discussion about, what the bartender would recommend. So he got to me, and I said, I'd like a Shirley Temple. And he said, do you want it with ginger ale or Sprite? And then because I have a comedy background, I said, well, what would you recommend? To kind of play off of him giving these serious recommendations to everybody else. And then I felt bad because he gave me the most serious recommendation. He didn't seem to realize that I was doing a joke. And he was like, oh, well, I think the ginger ale is better because it has less sweet in it, like the Sprite, and so that can really allow the grenadine to stand out. And I felt so bad. I was like, oh, okay, thank you very much. Thank you. So I just went along with it. But those are my two favorite Shirley Temple stories. All right, so very, very funny. All right. I try to just stick with iced tea because, I'm trying not to have too much sugar, as you know. I still have a soda now and again, but that's what I do. But I would love to have more options. So thank you, Tom Holland. Nolan says, as someone who is straight edge, I very much appreciate celebrities making mocktail options and supporting sober living. I have to tell you, when I used to watch The Celebrity Apprentice, before we found out the true ability, what the host was really like, one of the things that struck me was that almost everybody on the show of the celebrities did not drink because, they would bring out champagne toasts. And I remembered that, I think, what was it, Penn from Penn and Teller, and someone else. None of them were drinking. They were all sober. And that was one of the things early on that made me realize that a lot of people actually don't drink. And it's just not discussed very much. Hollywood. All right. Oh, that's interesting, Matt Torres. Is that interesting? That's interesting as well. I wonder how many of you are sober? Blair Wraith, I'm probably going to get more into mocktails. I saw that, more people are not drinking actually, and so that's why when you go out, there are more mocktails that are available. That's awesome. That's very cool. Obviously, it's your choice, and please drink responsibly. But I think, I think people being sober is more prevalent than you might imagine. But again, you could certainly have, I have no problem with people drinking around me. I've been told I get drunk by association because the loopier people around me get, the loopier I get. I don't need to drink to make bad decisions, as I like to say. I'm perfectly capable of making bad decisions sober. I can do it by myself. All right. The reason that I actually don't drink is because, and I'll be honest here, my grandfather had a very serious drinking problem. And so I worry that it could be hereditary. And so I don't want to get on that slippery slope. So that's the reason actually I do not drink. Let's see here. Very interesting. Although Danny wants to move the next story, and I agree. But what interesting side journey that we took there. I hope we maybe inspired some people. But again, whatever is good for you, do what's good for you. Oh, that's sweet, Leo. Thank you. Mwah. Oh, is that you? I see you on Twitter on the comments all the time, but you have a different name here? Maybe somebody else has the same avatar picture. Okay. All right. Now to the next story. We're finally going to do it. There's no spoilers here. Le boop. For Interview with the Vampire mini review. It's not that many. I got a lot to say. Because I love this show so much. But don't worry, there are no spoilers because I want you to watch the show. All right, so where can you watch it? Now, this is an AMC Plus show, or AMC, and that's why hardly anybody has watched the show. However, they recently added it to Netflix, just the first season. So about 2 weeks ago, I was going through Netflix's Halloween recommendations to add to my watch list. And I saw that they had Interview with the Vampire. And somebody had said, a number of you have been saying, oh, Grace, please watch Interview with the Vampire. It's so good. And I was like, I don't want to go find it. I don't want to watch it. I have enough to do. But since people had recommended it so strongly, and I needed something to watch, I was like, and it was on Netflix, this is the Netflix effect. I was like, okay, I'll watch it. It was so good, I binged it like in 3 days. Both seasons. Maybe 4 days. But I binged it certainly in a week. I binged 2 seasons, and I think they were both 8 or 9 episodes apiece right away. And the second season wasn't even on Netflix. I had to go buy it on iTunes, on Apple. I had to go buy Interview with the Vampire Season 2 because I wanted to watch it so badly. They were like, give me $20. And I was like, all right. And it was worth it. So great, incredible show. But if you have Netflix, you can watch the first season for free, and then you will go buy season 2 because it's so good. All right, so let's talk. Here is the trio. Here's the movie for comparison. I got to use my arrow here. All right, so here is obviously Tom Cruise as Lestat. I didn't watch the movie. Came out when I was too little. Didn't see it. So the story was relatively new for me. Also, even if you've read the novel, they've changed or massaged or added a lot to it. So you can still really enjoy the show. They really fleshed it out. The first 2 seasons are actually the entire first book. So everything that's in the movie is actually the 2 seasons of the show. So this is Lestat, and this is Lestat on the show. Here is Brad Pitt as Louis, and here's Jacob Anderson as Louis. And then Kirsten Dunst, this is her big breakout role as Claudia. And then in season 1, Bailey Bass played the role. We'll talk about the switch of Claudia's as well. I don't want to watch the movie. I'm watching this show. Oh, I forgot to upload season 3. There's a season 3 coming out. You might be like, what's the point of watching this? Season 3 is coming out very soon. They've already started filming it. It's going to be based on the book, The Vampire Lestat. It's going to be phenomenal. They had a teaser at Comic-Con. Go watch it. It's going to be so good. All right, so let's talk about the show. All right, so hold on. Let me get rid of the movie cast. All right, so first we'll talk about the 3 main actors. All right, so Lestat, played by Sam Reed. Let me make it a little bit bigger so you can see him. There he is. Okay. All right, where's my arrow? All right, so here is Sam Reed as Lestat. This is to gothic horror what Anthony Starr is to superheroes with Homelander. It's that level of a performance. It is one of the sexiest, most amazing it is Grey Worm. We'll talk about Grey Worm in a moment. One of the sexiest, most amazing performances I've ever seen. This guy is just, he has it. He has it. He should be a huge star. His line readings, I mean, everybody on the show is incredible. But he is, and by the way, this is an LGBTQ show, but I think it's like Agatha all along. It's not about being LGBTQ. They are LGBTQ characters in a broader story. But it's definitely a romance, and we'll talk about that. It's a romance between Lestat and Louis. What was only alluded to in the movie is fully gone into here. So it's a very sexy show. It's, if you like the beefcake, it's got the beefcake here. It's actually a very beautiful story, particularly when you watch the 2 seasons together, and we'll talk about that. It's actually an incredibly moving story. But this guy, Sam Reed, I can't say enough good things about him. I truly believe he's at the level of Anthony Starr's Homelander. How steamy is it, Zay? It's very steamy. It's as steamy as Game of Thrones. I would say also, by the way, this show is on par with Game of Thrones and Shogun in terms of what I was really impressed with was the production design and the scope of the show, showing early century New Orleans, early 20th century New Orleans, like early 1900s. I was really, really impressed with that. There's no full frontal on the show, I don't think. I don't think there is. But I got a lot of, a lot of allusion to that, a lot of sex scenes. It's very sexy. All right, so, but yes, it's incredible show. And, the third, I'm glad you're watching it, Xavier Ramos. Yeah, it's not NC-17. It's very hard R. It's as far as probably an R could get. Also very bloody, very gory show because it's a vampire show. All right. So I absolutely adore him. I think he's wonderful on the show. Huge fan. I can't believe that Hollywood hasn't scooped him up. All right? All right, so I want to be able to see who we're talking about here. All right, so the next person I want to talk about is this actor, Jacob Anderson, Grey Worm from Game of Thrones, that's him, as Louis. Now, they race-bended the role, I think, very effectively. Very, very effectively, particularly when talking about that time period. And it's also fascinating when you think, because they're eternal, to see how Louis's journey changes through the centuries. As racism to some degree becomes a better situation. I think the passage of time becomes even more interesting to see when it's from the perspective of somebody who is dealing with those elements. So I think it was a brilliant change to the novels. Also, I read what the original novel entailed, and you just couldn't do that today with how it was pretty bad. You just couldn't do that. But he is like the more, Lestat is a very flamboyant character, whereas Louis is more reserved. You can see him open up a little bit through the centuries, through the decades, which is also fascinating to see. But I can't believe how good Jacob Anderson's performance is. You can't, it's a balancing act. I would actually liken them to Anthony Starr and Karl Urban as Butcher and Homelander in The Boys in terms of a really important duality. That to me is crucial. So I really like that. Yes, they're both vampires. Lestat turns Louis. That's the setup. So I think that's fantastic. I think it was just really, really well done. Then, as for Claudia, now they cast an older actress than is indicated in the book and that Kirsten Dunst played in the original movie. She's supposed to be like 12, but obviously you can see late teens or early 20s playing late teens. Now that's Bailey Bass in season 1. She, of course, would go on to play in what was it? In Avatar. In Avatar. Wonderful job in the Avatar sequel. So she wasn't available for season 2. And in fact, when I loaded season 2 onto my Apple TV, I saw this actress in the photo. And I was like, who the heck is that? This is an actress named Delaney Hales, who took over the role of Claudia when they went to Europe in season 2. And I was a little disappointed because Bailey Bass was so incredible in season 1. The mood swings of a teenager, but heightened by a vampire, is an incredible idea and really, really, really explored here quite well. But I have to tell you, by the end of season 2, I was a huge Delaney Hales fan. I think both these actresses are phenomenal. It's almost like when they switched the Darrens on Bewitched and nobody realized. I think that obviously you do realize, but I think that the performances fit together beautifully. I think they cast actresses that look very similar to each other, not only facially, but even in their physical builds. And I think that it works. It took me one episode to get used to it. I think particularly because the actresses are both so good. Also, the story is incredible. It's just phenomenal. Phenomenal, phenomenal story. Em, you gotta watch this show. It's so good. Then also there are some other characters on the show that I just want to point out. There's one huge character that I don't want to give away, so we're not going to discuss them because it was a pretty good reveal. So I don't want to ruin that. So we're not going to, you might be like, why are we discussing that character? That's why. All right, so who is this? Let me make this so you can see here. All right, so yes, Eric Bogosian is on this show. Here he is here. He plays the interviewer, Daniel Malloy. This was the Christian Bale character in the movie. He's phenomenal. The surprises with this character were such a treat through season 2. I can't tell you how good it was. Eric Bogosian did a really, really good job. And they made the Daniel Malloy character phenomenal. What they were able to do with the interviewer, I was really, really blown away with how strong it was. And for Eric Bogosian, this late in his career, to get such a juicy role is really, really surprising. It's just really nice for him. So here he is with the season 1 cast. Okay, this cast has some great interviews on YouTube, by the way, which are recommended to me. I watched a few of them, and now they're like, "Would you like to say some more?" And I'm like, "I've watched so many already." All right. I said Christian. Oh, did I say Christian Bale? I'm sorry, Christian Slater. I meant Christian Slater. I don't know why I said Christian Bale. I'm having a little issue with allergies today. It's making me a little bit off. Sorry. All right, so yes, that's right, Mary. The Eric Bogosian and Daniel Malloy role is only going to get better. But no spoilers! Don't ruin it! All right, then there's another character that I wanted to point out from season 2, Santiago. Sorry, Claudia. All right, this is Santiago. All right, he's in season 2. This is Ben Daniels playing the role. I'm a Ben Daniels fan, actually. He's delicious. So delicious in this role. I can't tell you how good he is. Let me give you a little context, a slight spoiler. He is the lead vampire actor in the theater company in France. Oh, so amazing. And he is a vampire. Some of the vampires can fly, but obviously they don't want the audience of humans to know that, so he pretends to have a rigging around him, but it's not a rigging. He's actually flying around the theater. But I like the way that it's tied like a noose. He's such an evil character. I mean, wow. Shocking how evil he was on the show. But I loved it. It was great. All right, so that's the cast. Now I want to talk a little bit about the show, just in context, okay? Because I said this was a mini review. Don't worry, no spoilers. No spoilers. All right, so hold on. So that's the main cast, though. All right, so season 1 was really a toxic love story, and it takes place almost entirely in New Orleans, and I thought it was really beautiful, dealing with not only that era in New Orleans and vampires, but, you know, what it was like to not only be a person of color at that time period, but also a member of the LGBTQ community at that time period. New Orleans in America was probably you know, the most, not only one of the most European cities in America, but probably the most open city that existed at that time, but not that open. But if you were either of those in either of those groups, much less in both of them, which Louis is, New Orleans was obviously the place that you could only have even the slightest hope of being, and you know, that's one of the reasons that I think he is willing to become a vampire, because he just has so few options. Which is really fascinating. There are other elements as well. So it was really phenomenal. So season 1 is very much about, you know, that you know, and Claudia's origin story as well. It's really the origin stories of Louis and Claudia and how they interact with Lestat. Now, and it has a very chaotic, shocking ending, and I don't want to give it away. But season 2, here's the poster for season 2, which is incredible. Season 2 is the trial. If any of you are familiar with the original movie or the novel, and it's really stunning. I was shocked at how sad season 2 was. Season 2 was one of, especially the last 2 episodes, I had tears streaming down my face. I felt bad for everybody. It was just so tragic. It was just incredible, and it really is a package. I think that both seasons are very good, but they really are a set. You can't really get the full effect of the story unless you watch both of them, because it reflects so heavily. Season 2 reflects so heavily on season 1. I'm not giving away anything. Don't give anything away. All right. But even if you do know some of the things, it's okay, because they happen in a different way, or also the way they're done are so powerful that it's quite shocking. Some of the imagery here, I will never forget what I saw. And that's intentional. Kudos to the team here, from the actors to the writers to the directors to everybody. So, toxic relationships. That's one of the things that's most interesting. I would say that Lestat and Louis have a Joker-Harley kind of situation. Very much that kind of dynamic. But there is actual love there, which is what's so fascinating about it. And that it's not just toxicity. It's not like cut and dry. This person's using this person and lied to them. You know, it reminds me a little bit of Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. The Harley is Lestat. You know, he doesn't have the flourish of Harley, but you know, that's funny that some of you would say that Louis was the Joker. You know, that's what's so fascinating about the show, that by the time you're done with season 2, you're not sure who's the Joker and who's the Harley. And that's why I wanted to also talk about memory and perspective. Louis, through the course of the show, realizes that he's remembering a number of things incorrectly. And that is very shocking to you as a viewer, because for the first season and the first half of season 2, you're all on Louis' side. You're like, that Lestat's a horrible person. I'm glad you got away from him. But as the show, because it's very sophisticated, as the show progresses and you start to see more of Lestat's side, and yes, an unreliable narrator. But that's the point. The point they're trying to make is that you're an unreliable narrator of your own memories and your own experiences, because it's only your perspective. And I think that's shocking. And as Louis starts to realize that maybe he was cruel to Lestat, you're like, oh my God, that's just really, really amazing to see. I'm not spoiling Art Lover. I'm just talking about it in context. But when you watch that, I think you'll be really amazed as to how it goes. Also, I loved the vampire lore, which they're going to get even more to in season 3. I loved the vampire powers. I loved, the vampire hierarchy. I thought that was all very interesting. And also, they did a lot building out the modern vampire situation, which I do not believe is in the novel. So they're very much setting up, all these time periods, but also even what it's like for vampires today, who are largely, it's not a spoiler because it's revealed immediately. Louis, in the present, lives in Dubai, which is also very interesting. That's a really fascinating choice. Really beautiful cinematography. So I just really can't recommend this show strongly enough. I think it's an incredible show. And season 3, let me bring in the season 3 photo. You got to see it. Okay, where'd it go? Season 3. Lestat teaser. That's what I'm looking for. There it is. Okay, this was at Comic-Con this year. There he is. All right, so because Interview with the Vampire was a series of interviews with Louis, here Lestat is a rock star, just like in the novel. Just like in the novel, the vampire Lestat becomes a rock star. And so they're doing video interviews like they do for MTV and reality TV, where he does these interstitial interviews. And that's what the teaser trailer is, some of his interviews. And it's really cool. A lot of Sam Reed. He's incredible. Let me just give you a nice big picture of that. It just looks really cool. It just looks really, really good. And so this is a teaser that you can watch right now. And Daniel Malloy is doing the interviews, Eric Bogosian's character. He can sing, Mary. Oh, hey, Mary, are you the one that tweeted me? He can sing. He's actually an incredible singer. They released the first song, actually. And Sam Reed, who I believe is Australian, is singing in a French accent in English. It's incredible. The top right photo is your fave? Yeah, his emotions. I gotta tell you, they're all good at crying, but Sam Reed is a really good crier. Is it as good as True Blood? Yes. It is definitely as good as True Blood. I really, really think it's even better because it has the period piece aspect to it. Again, I put it up there with Game of Thrones and Shogun. I think it's that good a show. Rippy says, do you have any specific favorite episodes? Season 2, episode 5 and 7 were 2 of the best TV I've ever seen. Yeah, the trial in season 2 is just, I agree. You can't get better than that. But I thought that the Mardi Gras party at the end of season 1 was also pretty incredible. I mean, I wouldn't say it's better than The Boys, Marco. I think it's as good as The Boys. It's goth horror. Whereas I think it's as good as The Boys. I mean, I am all in on this show. I will probably try to review season 3. I think it's one of the best things I've ever seen. And I can see why so many of you were saying, you got to watch this show, Grace, and I feel bad. This is yet another show that has slipped through the cracks. Because of the service that it's on. I mean, it's incredible. That's right, Tyler. You tried to tell me. I'm glad I finally watched it. Green Lantern's like this falls in line with Queen of the Damned. I haven't watched that movie. I do know, I think they are going to explore Lestat's mother and stuff in this upcoming show, which is going to be really interesting. So there's a lot of good stuff coming up. They're doing some other Anne Rice stuff on AMC, but that stuff like the Mayfair Witches or something has horrible ratings. So I didn't even try to watch that. I'm glad I got you to watch this, Steve. Like, part of me was like, maybe I should go watch the other stuff that they have over there because I want more. But I was like, the reviews are bad. I'm just gonna wait for the third season of this. Jander says, never liked the film, but decided to give the show a chance, did not regret it. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's up there. It's as good as The Boys. It's as good as Shogun. It's as good as, I think it's a little better than Fallout. It's as good as Game of Thrones. I mean, it's an incredible show. They spend the money when they need to for the VFX. They have really amazing set design. It's really strong writing. It's really emotional. It's really interesting. Lloyd, I don't know why it doesn't have the Emmys. I think maybe because it's so genre-y. And I think, AMC for a while, it's shocking to me that AMC was able to do such a good job with Walking Dead, but cannot launch this show. That's right, Matt Torres. I'm saying it's good. If you couldn't tell. I liked the show. And it's a great time of year to watch it because it's Halloween. Michaela, you are the third person to mention From to me, which is also on MGM Plus, I think. And everybody's saying From is an incredible show. From, F-R-O-M. And that's on MGM Plus. And everybody's telling me it's amazing. So maybe I'll check that out as well. Oh yeah, AMC also did Mad Men. It's shocking that AMC has such a strong history in terms of shows, but yet have not been able to do justice to this show. All right, I think we can go to the Q&A section. All right. So I have spread the word. I know a number of you wanted me to watch this show so I could help spread the word, and I'm so happy now that I can do it. So let's get us enough Interview with the Vampire fans so that when season 3 comes out, we can really go nuts. That's right, Michaela. Breaking Bad also was on AMC. My pleasure, Mary. I'm sorry it took me so long. All right, Q&A section. All right. I will watch From in 2 years. Jesus says, why didn't you like the Saturday Night Live movie? I was really frustrated that, we'll do 10 minutes, so till 1 hour 12. All right, so I thought it was too chaotic. I didn't like that you couldn't really tell what was going on. I didn't like that Lorne Michaels had such little control over his own show. I hated the head writer character, who I thought was horribly unprofessional. I would have fired him on the spot. I don't care how funny he is. I thought he was extremely unprofessional. Even if he sometimes made good points, I thought his behavior was just not appropriate for a work environment. I thought it was fascinating how the show came about, thanks to the Johnny Carson situation. I wish they had done more with that. I did like the end with the soft pitch to Willem Dafoe's character. You'll know it when you see it. But I really felt I didn't get any idea as to what was happening or what happened. And I did not care for it. I thought it was a tough watch. I wanted actually to leave, but the person I was with did not want to. But we both hated it. We hated the movie so much it made us both get upset when we left the theater. We were like, why are we bickering? Oh, it's because we hated the movie so much. All right, so Brian says, what does Oscar capital mean? It means when you win an Oscar, you've got some capital in the bank. You can have capital a lot of ways. Ryan Reynolds has a lot of capital right now off of Deadpool and Wolverine. Hugh Jackman has a lot of capital. He's spending it like crazy. Radio City show, thank you. Robin Hood movie, yes, I will, please. Host the Oscars, don't mind if I do. That's not official yet, but Hugh Jackman is spending his Oscar capital well. His Deadpool and Wolverine capital. So capital is when something really great happens to you and you can ride that wave to something else. So it's like you get a check or you get the money and you're like, what should I spend it on? And that's what it means. Weekend Thwip chose violence and says, thoughts on Cynthia Erivo's Wicked controversy and the poster. Well, I was trying to avoid this because, and I think that's how everybody kind of feels. I think because, obviously Cynthia Erivo has the right to feel however, you can't argue against her emotions. She feels how she feels. So, there's nothing that can be said about that. But obviously nobody wants to make Cynthia Erivo feel bad. I don't want to. I think she's very talented. Although I told you that she had made bad comments in the past and you guys were like, why do you bring that up? And then here she is again. And then when she did this, I saw people bringing up other things that I didn't know about that she said and done in the past that were also bad. So again, it's like, I feel bad because she looks like she's doing an incredible job. And she always does an incredible job. Cynthia Erivo is a great actress and singer. But she constantly hurts the projects that she's involved in. And so I was surprised, and I said this when she was cast, that John Chu did not do his due diligence when casting her and wasn't like, wow, she's so talented, but look at the history of what she's done to projects she's been involved with. And sure enough, I think that this has been an unfortunate situation with Wicked. Now, again, she has every right to feel how she feels. I feel bad that she feels that way. I wish that she had spoken. I think that what's so confusing about it is that the poster that she is talking about comes from a good place. That person meant nothing bad by it. So to have such a negative thing to it when you're like, oh no, but this is a positive, made it even more surprising. And also I think it makes people feel like before, people were fast and loose with celebration of Wicked. They were like, oh, Wicked, we're gonna have fun with this. But now you're like, oh no, I might end up hurting Cynthia Erivo's feelings. So I think everybody has kind of just decided they should take a step back. You know, I made everybody have to be very careful. I mean, you should obviously always be very careful, but I think the problem is that now people are like, I don't know what might be upsetting because this shouldn't have been upsetting because it came from a positive place and it's mimicking the playbill poster, and so why would it upset you? You know, so I think before you were like, oh, well, you know, we know we're having fun. And also she was upset about this thing that's been historically whispered to Elphaba. But it's been whispered to Elphaba, you know, a very specific naughty question, since the show began. This isn't something that's just being done about Cynthia Erivo playing the role. So the fact that she's upset about something that everybody's been having fun with, good fun, for a decade, you know, again, people just don't know how to act now about the movie. And I do think that it has brought the excitement down. I think it's palpable. I think because people just don't know what to do now. And I don't know if they'll be able to get back to where they were. It's very shocking. We rarely see something. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that happen. And I'm not quite sure how they're going to be able to turn it around. So we'll see. All right. So Danny says, hi, Grace. Did you watch the Creature Commandos trailer? Do you think this is the best way to start with the new DCU? I didn't watch the trailer because I can't react to it because it's a Max trailer. You know, James Gunn got very angry with me when I said that there was not a large audience for Peacemaker. That's the whole thing that made him say that comment about me being, you know, that not negative comment about me that people like to bring up all the time. It came from that, okay? So instead of him just posting that it had strong ratings, that was his response, okay? Because I had said, not a lot of people are watching Peacemaker. It has its fans, it has niche fans, but it's not a big thing. I think it's the exact same thing for Creature Commandos. I would argue it was the same thing for his Suicide Squad movie. He makes his fan base very happy, but it's small. It's not the level that you need for DC proper. So I'm not going to cover the show because I have a problem with James Gunn's taste, as you know, which is why I didn't cover Peacemaker. Some people feel I didn't cover Peacemaker because it was violent. That has nothing to do with it. Here's the thing. I don't like that level of taste. But I don't want to be negative about something that I know some people really enjoy. So to me, unlike some channels, I don't want to make a hate video every week. Like it's not fun for me. It's not fun for you. That's not a good use of anybody's time. You know, so that's why I didn't cover Peacemaker, because I had absolutely nothing positive to say about it. And so what would be the point of that? So for Creature Commandos, which I'm like, it's the same. It's just Suicide Squad. It's just Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't have anything positive to say about it. So I'm just going to ignore it, you know, because again, if you want to watch that, I don't want to detract from your experience. I want you to have a good time. And it's a Max trailer, so I can't react to it because it gets claimed. They will even claim a breakdown. So that's the issue. So I will only react to Max shows if they're a very big deal, and I have to do it with stills, as we discussed for the upcoming Last of Us. It's a stupid policy that they have, and I hope they get rid of it. Matt Torres also chose violence. I'm not answering that question. I'm sorry. He wants to know why Kevin Feige is still employed. I think, speaking of capital, he has so much capital in the bank, he still has some left. Marco says, I feel Robert Downey Jr. gets too much slack. He clearly had inputs on story direction and helped shape the MCU into what it was. Too much flack, you think, Marco. let's give his doom a chance. I have to give it a chance. But I'm very nervous, okay? I think it's a really bad idea. I think it's a horrible idea. I hope that we are proven wrong. But I just think it could not be a worse idea. I think it's the worst idea that they've ever had at the MCU. All right, Asensio says, From is amazing, Grace. Thank you for the recommendation. I appreciate that. Dancing Dog says, should the interview talent be hired for Blade? Maybe. I don't know if they want to do that, and they're busy making more Interview with the Vampire. But I mean, I think I would certainly look to that show. But that's why maybe they shouldn't rush to make a Blade movie, because there's so much good vampire content already out there. Mary Lynn says, what's your favorite vampire movie? I really liked that recent one, Salem's Lot. It's not a great movie, but it was a fun movie. I thought that was a good, fun thing on HBO Max, or Max. I guess Interview with the Vampire, the series, is my favorite vampire content. I'm not usually a huge vampire fan. Dane says, Grace, was your enjoyment of Interview with the Vampire due to being able to binge the first 2 seasons versus parceling the episodes out over multiple years? Maybe. That could have had some effect. We'll find out when I watch season 3 week to week. But maybe I'll get to binge it as a reviewer. Give it to me now! But yeah, it was a great binge. But I think it would be stand-up weekly. John Thrasher says, are you able to clear up the Agatha? I saw your tweet. I haven't heard any rumors about this stuff. I think that people are just having fun with you guys, which is, don't take advantage of the Wanda fandom, everybody. I just wouldn't get ahead of ourselves. You can have theories, but I mean, Jack Schaefer herself said she's not working on anything right now. Wes says, months ago I asked if Wicked could get people to dress up in pink and green like Barbie did. Has your opinion changed with the momentum? Well, I don't think anyone's going to dress up as Elphaba, or certainly wouldn't post a photo of it. I will be dressing in costume for the movie, for my reviews. I actually have already purchased the costumes. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but I'm very happy with what I chose. But I hope people still have fun with it. Hey, Lisa, it's good to see you. Let's see here. Anonymous Wannabe says, why aren't studios making more rom-coms after the Anyone But You success? They're hard to do. They're hard to do. Some talent would have to get behind it to do that. Oh, look at all the questions. I'm hurrying. Who just gifted all those memberships? Thank you, Gramos. Wow, so generous. All right, hold on. I'm coming. I skipped ahead here. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. All right. The Charles Merritt says, if Superman makes as much as the first Iron Man, will it be considered a success? If it makes as much as the Batman in the 700 million range, the Matt Reeves movie, I think then it'll be considered a success. Let's see here. Ben 10 says, excited about Gladiator 2 and Wicked. Paul Mescal and Pedro Pascal are so cute in interviews. They are having a lot of fun. Paul Mescal is the Flash? No, I don't think he's going to do that. I hope Gladiator 2 is good. They're showing it to awful lot of people. Paramount says, I have to wait. I'm like, when can I see it? And they're like, soon. And I'm like, Rrr. All right. Let's see here. Dolan says, now that you've seen Sam in an interview with the vampire, what future kind of project would you like to see him in? Well, I said he was a slam dunk for Sentry. It's crazy he's not Sentry, Sam Reed. But I think anything. He would be on the top of my list. I don't understand why he and Anthony Starr don't get more work. I think Anthony Starr has a bit of a problem in that he's just so Homelander. Like every time you see him, you're like, oh, it's Homelander. So I think that might be a slight issue for him. But Sam Reed's performance is more subtle. I think he would have made a great Sentry. Both of them would be on my lists for anything. I would be like, I got to find something for these guys to do. They're so fantastic. Let's see here. Gramo says, hi, Grace, loving horror this year. Smile 2 and The Substance. Oh, by the way, The Substance comes out on digital on next Tuesday, a week from today. So maybe I'll finally watch it. I don't know. It's supposed to be so gross, though. Let's see here. Wandering Seth says, how do we tell Cynthia? Well, I don't want to tell Cynthia anything. You know, I thought it was very important to note that a number of people, particularly fans of color, were supportive of Cynthia Erivo and said that she had every right to talk about how that made her uncomfortable. I don't know if those same people were Wicked fans of the musical, because then they would understand that nothing egregious had been done. You know, Cynthia Erivo has had this issue for a very long time. And, you know, if no one has been able to talk to her about it and by now, I think it's, you know, obviously she's content with handling herself this way. And so you have to respect that. Let's see here. Okay, Walton didn't even, no. Marky Mark says, stopped watching the Creature Commandos trailer halfway through. Seems like Monster Eyes. That's a pretty funny comparison. Let's see here. Big Witch says, wanted to thank you for being such a positive, hardworking professional and harboring such a wonderful... that's so sweet of you to say, Big Witch. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. It's something I really would like. Something I hope to do. Something I think that I've gotten better at over the years, largely thanks to you guys. You guys have done so much in broadening my horizons, and I think us having really, important conversations. You know, I think that's one of the good things that's come out of social media. Jay Kelly, I get very annoyed when people just say a blanket statement that I don't like James Gunn. I have nothing against James Gunn. I want to make it clear. I have never picked a fight with James Gunn. James Gunn has always picked a fight with me. James Gunn is always coming over to my space and giving me a problem. I've never caused a problem for him. I've always just been honest in my reporting. It's a very weird situation that I don't appreciate, but I'm not going to let anybody bully me out of doing my job. I gave a good review to the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, which James Gunn actually said he was happy to see, and I responded, my pleasure, great job. I gave Guardians of the Galaxy 3 a very strong review because it was a great movie. And I have been saying positive things about Superman, especially the last photo, which a lot of people didn't like. And I said I thought it was fantastic, and I thought it was a very nice image. And I will give Superman the benefit of the doubt, and I will be very open to that being a good movie. So I really don't want to hear it anymore. It's just like James Gunn's little bitches who are giving me that problem. All right, let's see here. AG68 says, hey, Grace, with Billy now here, I want a scene in the upcoming Young Avengers where Tommy is saving civilians. That's a deep cut, AG68, you know? But I'd be interested to see when Tommy and Billy are finally brought together. Let's see here. Mark Chapman says, hey, Grace, just wanted to say I watched Horizon a couple of weeks ago and thoroughly enjoyed it. Right? I was going to watch it in parts, but I was kept glued to the screen. I think it's it's a very soap opera-y movie. Again, it's not a great movie, but I think it's a very watchable, enjoyable film. And I hope that someday we get to see the next one. Let's see here. M says, what do you think of McKenna Grace possibly being Nev, Sydney's... I don't think anybody wants to see Sydney's daughter in Scream 7. I think they just want to see Sydney. Although people are upset with Nev Campbell because she took over Melissa Barrera's spot. I think Scream has a real problem. AG68 again says, just how Andrew saves Zendaya's whole crowd crying out for the twin... AG68, I'm glad you're so invested in this story. I hope it plays out well and you're happy about that. Eddie Wu says, do you have any plans to see Anora going tonight? I'm seeing another movie this evening. I'm very excited about it. I'm not quite sure when I'll see Anora, but I will definitely watch it at some point. I'm all in on Conclave this weekend. I'm very excited about Conclave. One of you told me it has a surprise ending, so avoid spoilers on Conclave. I'm very excited to see it. Oh, Jose Michael, I'm glad you liked Salem's Lot as well. Isaac Lopez says, Grace, do you have any pets? Or what animal would you like to have as a pet? I had a goldfish, or my parents had a goldfish for a while. Boy, a fish is a ton of work. Way more work. I'm way over my time. A fish is a lot more work than I ever would have anticipated. I have so much fun talking to you guys. But I do not have any pets because I like to go out a lot. And so that really wouldn't work with my lifestyle because the pet would be like, what about me? And I'd be like, oh, that does suck. I house sat for once for somebody with a cat, and I loved that cat. Green Lantern's Light says her comment. I gotta go. I'm gonna be late actually. Let me do this big one. I see there's a big super chat here. Hold on. Says Green Lantern's Light. Although the act may have seemed innocent, it reflects a long-standing expectation of acceptance that people have. So Green Lantern's Light is speaking in defense of Cynthia Erivo, pointing out that although the act of changing the poster might have seemed innocent, it reflects a long-standing expectation of acceptance that people of color have faced for decades. Cynthia Erivo felt it was important to speak up rather than let it go unaddressed. Well, and I think that she should have made it more of a teachable moment instead of being angry and pointed out, what the difference was and how her playing the role changes that. But I really feel it was just the person trying. I haven't seen a single person be upset with her casting in the role. And I have talked to a number of fans who really pointed out that it was the first time, despite the context of the role, that an actress of color has been cast as Elphaba. And so I think that's really wonderful. And everybody has been totally cool with it. And so I think that the visceral anger was just really, I think it took a lot of people aback. Now again, Cynthia Erivo, we can't tell Cynthia Erivo how to feel, and her feelings, they're how she feels. So we have to respect them. That's really important. But I think that it has had an effect. She has every right to react the way that she wants to, but it has created a difficult scenario now for the movie. And that's, I think, because people are just, I think people are now nervous about how, because again, that came from such a good place. All right. The altering of the poster was just, it was such an innocent act. So I think that's just, I think that's what's so surprising. But I must go. I'm behind. All right. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye. See you soon. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.